Hi everyone. I am going to go ahead and analyze another course from this last weekend's UKI National Championships. This is another course by Tomas Traj. It was an agility course. Quite an interesting course, lots of tricky lines, lots of skill testing, and lots of kind of forcing you to stay ahead of your dog, which he seems to really like. Okay, so we'll start talking about this first line here. 1, 2, 3, 4. It was a little bit tricky. You had to get the dog over the start jump here. You had to take the back side of 2, front side of 3, and then you had to go to the back side of 4 there. So, I chose to lead out, and I chose to go with a throttle at number 2, simply because I could get myself a little bit farther ahead. I wanted to know that I could really make the blind from 3 to 4 without any difficulty, so I knew that my best chance of getting there was definitely to lead out, even past the jump on 2, to cue a throttle and to get going. Some handlers did choose to do a pushback blind on number 2, so the handler cued a pushback here, dog on left, and then blind crossed here. But a lot of them did not make a nice side change between 3 and 4. They were maybe a little bit late with the blind. I saw some bars coming down on number 3, just because the handler was maybe a little bit in the dog's path or in the dog's way, and or they aborted mission and they tried to basically pull the dog in here to the other side of 4. But it was definitely the nicest if you could very clearly change sides here, 3 to 4. So here I go, I lead out. I get to a place where I know I can cue and I can stay ahead of my dog. I release over 1. I throttle to 2, and you can see that I'm shifting out of it as she's coming in for that throttle. I'm just kind of trusting there that she's going to take it so that I can move into position here, 3 to 4 for that blind. So again, you can see that my shoulders are starting to change. I'm starting to bring that left arm back so that as she's taking off right here on takeoff, she knows she's supposed to be landing to that left side. Lux does sometimes take bars, and obviously the clearer I can be with my arm changes, the better. If I surprise her in the air, or if she's not 100% clear on where she's going next, is one of the situations for sure where she's likely to take bars down. Okay, so I change sides here. She knows that she's landing on that left side. I send her to a wrap cue on number 4, and then off we go to the tunnel at 5. 6 to 7, it was just a pushback, so I choose to do a pushback blind there, which is basically what all the handlers did to the seesaw. So from the seesaw, we went to the weave poles. I chose to rear cross there, so after the weave poles, you're pulling the dog basically to the tunnel, and then you're going tunnel to tunnel out here. So I knew that I wanted to be on the other side over here. I wanted to rear cross and get down that path. I also knew that I needed to get extremely far ahead of my dog because there was a very clear trap up ahead. If you stayed back basically to babysit your weaves, you got in trouble down the line. So from the seesaw, I centered in the poles. I chose to rear cross. I knew she was in, and I really started to fade lateral. All right, so from the poles, I still watching her. I cue that tunnel. I started to give that verbal tunnel cue as early as I possibly could. An area of problem here was some of the dogs, especially the handlers that did not call their dogs at all out of the weave poles or did not cue the next obstacle. The dogs really looked at that jump, and you can see how that's kind of naturally in their path, and it could be an option. So I wanted to make sure I was watching her and I was cueing that tunnel, and I knew that she was basically coming with me before I took off on her. Okay, so I see her coming tunnel to tunnel. This is where people got in trouble. So if you were stuck behind the dog here, if you maybe had to stay with your weave poles because you could not leave them, and the dogs got ahead of you out of this tunnel, clearly you can see that this blue jump could be an option. So especially when the handler's behind here, the dogs are going to naturally curl towards us just a little bit if we are not pressuring them forward. And many dogs had trouble in here. And you can see here, I'll show you, Lux definitely curled towards me, and I had to bounce her out to that tunnel just a little bit. You can see that she got quite close to my leg there, and I kind of had to redirect her a little bit out to that tunnel. Okay, so I chose to layer that blue jump. I chose to not run around, only because I knew I'd get farther ahead. And the jump after the tunnel was a threadle on this red. So I knew that if I ran around that blue jump and I did not layer it, it was going to be a little bit more difficult of a threadle. But because I cut straight through here, I think it's actually a lot easier to pull the dog in, because they're going to come out of that tunnel and they're going to kind of see your position a little bit better there. Okay, so here I go. I'm cueing that threadle. Next obstacle is the running dog walk. So again, I cued it, and you can see I'm taking off. So I'm trusting that she's going to take that threadle, and away I go. Okay, so after the running dog walk, there was a slight turn away from handler there to the backside of that red jump out in the corner. So I knew I wanted to get ahead. I knew I needed to pressure that line just a little bit in order to properly indicate that backside. So I wanted to get ahead. I wanted to slightly pressure up there, so that I could clearly give her the backside of that jump. I knew I wasn't going to have time to change sides there, so I chose a threadle rear. I just threadled and then crossed her path to turn her back towards. So here we go. I'll zoom back out here. Up the running dog walk, you can see I'm ahead enough. I start to bring up that threadle arm, that opposite arm, so I can indicate that it is the backside of that red jump. Okay, off to the backside, and then I give her a big arm here to help her stay out to that tunnel. You can see that I threw my arm up there, so that she stayed out on that line. Some dogs were pulling in here actually and missing that tunnel, so the reason I gave her that really nice big arm there is to help her stay out and to help her just see that tunnel a little bit more. Okay, so I'll zoom back out. So I cued the tunnel. I know she was going up the frame here. Again, a little bit of a big arm, just because I'm having to peel around this tunnel here. So as I peeled around that red tunnel, I was a little bit worried about pulling her with me, because she does like to stay tight to me. And I think it's something I practice a lot as well, pulling the dog in. So I wanted to make sure, again, I gave her a little bit of a big arm there to help her to understand to stay out on that frame, and that my motion or my body wasn't going to pull her around that tunnel as I ran around it. So she's up on the frame here. Okay, cued a little bit of turn on that blue jump. You can see that I just decelled slightly coming into that. You can see that I'm staying back a little bit to help cue a turn. It was a slight threadle here to that next blue jump, so you had to bring the dog in. It was just a really slight threadle for them to take that blue. And to that tunnel under the frame. Okay, I chose to do a blind here to a threadle, so there definitely were a couple of different options on this blue jump. A lot of handlers chose to push back and then blind here on the last jump. I felt like it was a situation where if I did a pushback blind there, I might actually be in her way for landing, and that's another really bad bar for her, where I am in her way on those back sides. So I knew that staying out of her way there was my best bet. I knew that I could trust a little bit of independence there, and I could get going, and I could trust that she was going to find that tunnel, so that I could make a side change here and basically do a blind to a threadle and just have the best chance of staying out of her way, out of her path there. Okay, so I blinded to a threadle, and out we go on that final jump. It was a nice clean run from Lux. Really cool course from Tomas Trosh. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed that. Thank you.